Hi, everybody. My name is Caitlin Kelly, and today I will be presenting on my capstone project through a program on the environment at the University of Washington. The title of my project is COVID in Cuisine, Can a Global Pandemic Lead to Social and Sustainable Food? So for a little background on this work, the modern US food system is highly specialized and centralized. What this means is that farms are generally monoculture, which means that they grow a single crop. They're very large and they require many inputs like chemical fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. And the food grown on those farms follows a very specific commodity chain to eventually reach your hands. The problem with this is that it winds up creating an incredibly environmentally intensive practice, as well as create such a streamlined system that it's not able to adjust quickly or efficiently during system shocks such as COVID-19. So to combat these issues, the food system needs to become more sustainable and more diversified, more decentralized, and equitable. So the questions I was interested in pursuing were what kinds of changes, if any, have people made regarding their food choices during COVID-19, and how has COVID-19 impacted people's awareness of this food system? My internship itself was with the Organic Farm School, where I worked with my peer, Elena Spasova, to create an agricultural podcast titled Dishing Up the Dirt. The goal of this podcast was to unite producers and consumers to help educate the general audience of more sustainable food, how to support local farms, and what we can do to overall make a more sustainable and equitable food system. Elena and I had to research how to create a podcast from the ground up, including the hardware, the software, how to record interviews during a pandemic when we can't meet in person, and the hosting platform for it. Ultimately, we both created our own episodes as well. In mine, I chose to interview city fruit in the Beacon Food Forest so that I could get more insight on local sustainable food. And to enhance ideas for topics for the podcast, as well as keep it focused around my research, I decided to conduct a survey regarding my research questions in the general Western Washington population, and I received 86 responses. So the focus of my survey was on my research questions, and what I found was that meat consumption dramatically declined during the pandemic. Reasons being disruptions to the food system, increased costs, people became aware of the abuses happening in the meat packing plants and chose to not support it, and meat overall became more expensive and less accessible. In tandem, vegetable consumption also increased, and people began cooking at home significantly more than they used to, while eating out dramatically declined. A lot of participants cited that they actually enjoyed cooking at home more, being able to eat more healthfully, and eat good foods with their family now that they finally had the time. Interestingly, there was also a 20% increase of brand new food gardeners. And one of the participants said that she had begun growing more food in her garden specifically to help feed her neighbors and create more of a miniature local food system that would keep everybody in her neighborhood fed. My respondents also mentioned the things that they wanted to learn regarding the US food system. Almost 50% want to learn about sustainable and local agriculture, which is excellent considering that is the focus of Dishing Up the Dirt. Many also wanted to learn about the food system in general because they didn't understand why it was suffering from these shocks and why the food system seems as rigid as it is when it comes to something like a pandemic. There was also curiosity about how policy impacts farmers, how to eat more healthfully, and how to create more equitable and accessible food for everybody in the community, from the farm workers to consumers. So my general findings were that during the pandemic, people got more involved in the food system than they used to be. Carla Penderock, who I interviewed with the Beacon Food Forest, said that they saw a sharp uptick in volunteers at their food forest on Beacon Hill. They had more people helping grow the food, more people harvesting the food grown there, and just a stronger sense of community. Emily Katz with City Fruit really stressed that the key to a sustainable food system is that it comes from the community. It's people helping people, it's people having a direct relationship to their food, and it's keeping food local. There was also a lot of anger among my participants regarding the treatment of farm workers during COVID-19 and a desire to be able to support farmers who they knew were treating the environment and the people who worked for them well. So the significance of this is we now have a better idea of the weak spots in the local and industrial food system, so we can create a more targeted and hopefully successful podcast. We also learned that people's habits are currently disrupted and people have a sharp interest right now in learning about sustainable and social food. And so we're hoping that we can take advantage of this time of upheaval to help promote a stronger and more resilient food system coming out of COVID-19 than we had coming in. And that's all I have for you today on my capstone project. Thank you so much for listening.